going on, everybody? It's Aurora here, coming back at you with another video, and a new archetype just literally dropped out of the blue like less than a minute ago. I was sitting here editing my next really big budget video, which I was doing last time the archetype was dropped last night, and I'm never going to be able to finish it at this rate because things just keep dropping and I need to reveal them in order to get free views. No, but I really do want to give you guys all the information as fast as possible, especially compared to other YouTubers, because wink wink nudge nudge. And basically, I guess we're getting a new archetype in Power of the Elements called Vernalizer, and according to the text on YG Organization, it is fairies cursing forest critters with a burden of sapience just ahead of the spring equinox 2. I have no clue about anything in this deck. Unlike all the other past ones that I've done so far, in the, at least the last few, I've known at least a little bit of what they do. Sorry, I'm looking at my OBS. I know at least a little bit not what they do maybe, but at least their playstyle just from looking at if they have a bunch of traps, a bunch of spells, a bunch of monsters, whatever. I did not know this existed. I did not know this was coming out. I'm very confused. It's much like Therians. And so, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, I know they're going to be fairies. They look like earth fairies. It should be pretty good support-wise. Anyways, first up, we have Vernalizer, Fairy of Hills and Blooms. It's a level 4 Earth Fairy effect monster, 200 attack and 2000 defense. You can only use its first effect once per turn. You can discard this card in one other monster or Vernalizer Fairy card. Add a Vernalizer Fairy card from your deck to your hand, except Vernalizer Fairy of Hills and Blooms. Then you can special summon an Earth Fairy monster from your graveyard, but you cannot activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except Earth monsters. And Vernalizer Fairy monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Okay. Protection aside, it's pretty okay protection, especially because it's blanket, but then again, we don't know how many Vernalizer Fairies there are. Then again, it might just be the archetype itself, I don't know, because it says discard one other monster, or I don't know. Whatever, ignoring that. I mean, searching for a card off of a discard is kind of cool, but considering it's kind of a neg unless they have floating effects, that can be a bit of an issue. I've noticed that so far with the Labyrinth archetype as well, already, is that when you have to discard 2 cards to search 1 card, and it has a specific setup to get itself back, this doesn't even get itself back, basically. Well, technically it does, because it says then you can special summon an Earth Fairy from your grave, but it locks you into Earth Fairy monster, or Earth monster effects, and so that might not be bad, it might be bad, I don't know, we have to see the rest of the archetype first, but that is their level 4, okay, it looks like there's multiple levels, oh, okay. Okay, so it's basically a typical archetype, one spell, couple traps, couple monsters, okay. Seems pretty, balanced out in terms of, specific playstyle. So next up, we have Vernalizer Fairy of Forest and Awakening. This sounds like a fucking Flower Guardian name. It's a level 2. I think it means level 4. Level 4 Earth Fairy effect monster with 900 attack and 1800 defense. And you can only use the first 2 effects, or each effect of this card's name once per turn. You can discard this card and another monster of Vernalizer Fairy. Send from your deck to the graveyard an Earth monster that can be normal summon or set. Then you can special summon an Earth monster with a different name from your graveyard, but you cannot activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except Earth monsters. And you can target one Vernalizer Fairy monster you control. Its current attack becomes doubled until the end of this turn. So this could be really good for OTKs. It really depends. Let's see, we got 600 here, we got 1100 here. So you're definitely going to be boosting this Winnie the Pooh looking ass bitch up to 22 in order to get a little bit of damage in. But other than that, dumping an Earth monster, I don't know why it specifically says that can be normal summon or set. There might be a few exploitative cards that would work otherwise. Maybe it'd be used in Ruin Force FTK, I don't know. But I feel like that's pretty good. It's a free foolish, or not free, you have to discard another thing. But let's hope that some other things recycle them at least. But being able to special a different Earth from your graveyard is really cool because any Earth, and yeah, keep in mind, they lock you into Earth effects, not just Earth Fairies or just Fairies. And so it can be splashed in with something, definitely. Are Rome Mages all Earth? I think they have lights too. I think they're actually a bunch of different attributes. I don't know. But those are plants. I don't know. I'm just thinking of aesthetics. Regardless, this is a pretty good card, honestly. Doubling the attack is pretty cool, and then specialing a different name one period, and not just in, well, actually, this one just seems better, because this one doesn't have to have a different name. Okay, never mind then. I thought, this one only specialed a Vernalizer Fairy, but nope. This one's just worse. Okay, whatever, though. Next up, we have, I swear to God, is this Max and Ruby, bro? Oh my god, that show. Vernalizer Fairy of Flowers and Fields. Level 3 Earth Fairy effect monster with 600 attack and 1600 defense. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can discard this card and one other monster or Vernalizer Fairy card to add an Earth monster from your graveyard to your hand, except itself. Then you can special summon an Earth monster from your graveyard, but you cannot activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except Earth monsters, and your opponent cannot target Vernalizer Fairy monsters you control with card effects. More protection. It's probably going to be more of like a, sort of like a chill on a few monsters and kind of like tap a few times. I don't know. Not magic, by the way. But adding from grave to hand, so that's some okay recovery, but you are still negging by discarding. I really hope their back row helps them, because otherwise it's going to be very frustrating negging so many resources to do some like mediocre plays that other decks do for free. So I don't know, but special summoning any earth from grave is again really fire. So let's go ahead and get on to the next one. We have Vernalizer Fairy of Mountains and Melting Snow. It's an Earth Fairy effect, I'm assuming, level 3. Wow, they really rushed to slap this one up, huh? They were probably just as surprised as I was. Has 1100 attack and 0 defense, and you can only use each effect once per turn. You can discard this card to another monster or Vernalizer Fairy card to draw a card, then you can special summon an Earth from your grave, but you're locked into Earth monsters. And you can target one Vernalizer Fairy monster you control. It can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. So the goal is probably going to be double his attack, and then make him attack twice, and then poke for a good amount of damage, right? So depending on the back row, this could end up trying to be an OTK deck, but a very weird OTK deck, in the sense that their monster actually isn't that big that it looks like they're going to be poking with. So I don't know, no idea there, but you can swarm probably pretty easy, because if you open 4 of the Vernalizer Fairies, you can trigger 2 of their effects, especially the searching one, and then you can special 2 Earths, and then the searching one, you can discard it, and or you can get something off the searching one and then discard the thing you searched, and the last card in your hand, this is going first, by the way, and then you can special a 3rd thing from grave, and you're triggering more effects. And so you can probably get a good few monsters on board, and so it's probably the goal for like poking. So I don't know, because that's like the only playstyle I'm thinking. This is reminding me of Scareclaw, except like a bit worse in my opinion. I don't know. But that's it for the monsters. They only have 4 monsters. Okay. Definitely going to be an archetype that's getting support down the line. Maybe this is a TCG exclusive. I don't know. Actually, no, if it was a TCG exclusive, it wouldn't be revealed in the OCG. I'm so stupid. But we have Flower Crown of the Vernalizer Fairy. It's a continuous spell that says Earth monsters you control are treated as Vernalizer Fairies. Okay. We just looked at something, actually, from the every Yu-Gi-Oh card, everything, that did the same thing for Morphtronics. Then once per turn, if a Vernalizer Fairy in your hand would discard itself and another card to activate its effect, you can make it only discard itself instead. Okay. That makes it a lot better, because now you're not really negging a bunch, because if, say you already discarded 2 things, right? Then you activate this, and you activate the Searcher, and then you search, and you only discard itself, and you still get to trigger the effect to special from grave. So that's technically a plus there. However, I do kind of wish it didn't like revolve around the continuous spell having to be up in order to actually do a +1. So it can be a bit annoying there. But the Earth monsters being controlled as Vernalizer Fairies actually can come up. Okay, never mind. Because I was going to say that's kind of mid, but I realized that all of these can be used with a different, like, non-Vernalizer Fairy monster, like a different OTK-based monster. You can target a Vernalizer Fairy, make it attack twice. You can target a Vernalizer Fairy, double its original attack. So, or actually, its current attack. And so that could work out depending on what you mix it with, but my brain is still trying to wrap around what I'm going to, like, or not what I'm going to, but what people were going to mix with it. Anyway, that's their only spell. We have 2 trap cards. We have Calendar Rotation of the Vernalizer Fairy. It's a normal trap. You can only use each effect once per turn. Target a Vernalizer Fairy in your grave, either add it to your hand or special summon it, and during your opponent's turn, if you have no cards in your hand, except during the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon as many Vernalizer Fairy monsters with different names as possible from your graveyard, but return them to the hand during the end phase. Okay, so it's a bit awkward to, like, the first effect is okay. It's a monster reborn or a monster reincarnation. That's pretty fire, honestly, in an archetype that looks like this. But I like the second effect, because it's probably not that hard to get no cards in your hand, considering that's the entire point of the archetype is to, like, discard your things. And then you get to Soul Charge, which is really cool, because then you get like a bunch of bodies on board, and then you can double attack, and you can make them swing twice, and then they're protected from targeting and destruction. So that could be really, really good for OTKs, but it's gonna be like a not turn 2 thing, maybe. They'll probably have to stall out for a little bit and then go for some poking. Otherwise, I feel like they might have a bit of issues. That's their first trap. Let's go ahead and get onto their other trap. It's another normal trap, Vernalizer Fairy and Flower Buds. It's a normal trap that says you can only activate 1 card of its name per turn. Target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Earth monsters, special summon from the graveyard with different names. Return Earth monsters you control to the hand equal to the number of targets, and if you do, return those targets to the hand. So admittedly, it does target, and it only is for face-up. However, it is a bouncing back to hand, and it recycles your resources back to your hand, which allows you to reuse their effects, and then they can just special themselves back and get more advantage from like the searching and from the adding from grave, etc, etc. So clearly the deck wants to board spam, as well as rip the cards out of their own hand in order to get field advantage rather than hand advantage, which I think is interesting. It definitely feels incomplete though. So, I don't know. Let's go ahead and look at some of these things again. I'm going to scroll down very slowly so that you guys can re-see them all. So I'm definitely getting some Tinkerbell vibes, by the way, from this. I think that's like the entire point, because they are like actual fairies instead of like, you know, Dark Lords. But I feel like this archetype is very strange. I've never seen an archetype want to like kamikaze itself this bad outside of Dynamorphia, at least in terms of card advantage, not in terms of life points. Because just constantly ripping cards from your own hand can go really, really bad if you get hit by something like an Ash or a Bell, because none of them trigger when they're discarded. They only have their own effective discard, and so you can just neg resources if you get hand trapped once. And so that can be really frustrating if you're piloting this deck from the looks of it. Also, I have no idea what other Earth monsters are going to be pairing this deck with. Like, they probably have something specific in mind, so that you can punch really hard with it by making it attack twice and double its attack. But I'd have to like think of something that would actually work that isn't a Vernalizer fairy that could synergize with the archetype. Let me know, actually, in the comments if there's anything you think they had in mind or that you have in mind, because I'm unable to even think about anything like that. Now that we've gone over it really fast, by the way, that's like one of my fastest reviews ever, wow. What would I rate this deck? Again, it feels really incomplete. I feel like it's definitely not done yet, and it's probably going to have another set or two of cards. I feel like, especially without an extra deck monster, it's kind of annoying with all this swarming. So, I'm going to have to give it, like, a 5. And the only thing I'm really doing to give it a 5 instead of, like, anything lower is mainly the trap cards, because the trap cards are, like, the saving grace of the deck. Targeting face-up cards your opponent controls and bouncing them is really good, especially when it bounces your things as well, so that you can reuse their discard effects. Not to mention that you have a monster reincarnation / reborn, as well as a soul charge. Granted, you have to have no cards in your hand, so that can be a bit annoying to actually get the claws out, but I mean, just play Infernities, bro. Get good. But overall, I think this archetype is different, but I wouldn't say it's good. But I'm going to leave that up to you guys to decide, like, what your opinions are on it. I personally don't think it's going to be that great unless it gets more things, because it definitely does not seem finished as of yet. But go ahead and let me know down in the comments below what you think about it, because for now, that's going to have to do for the video. If you liked it, please sure to leave a like on us. Helps put this video and the channel into YouTube recommended. And if you really like this content, you want to see more like it, like some more card reviews, I just did one for the Labyrinth deck yesterday, coming out in Tactical Masters, then perhaps consider subscribing, because we've already finally hit our 1,000 subscriber milestone by the end of May, which, I mean, it's March currently, so that's even better. But let's go ahead and try to get to 1,500. I don't know. But once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Aurora, signing off.